Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Audacity Network and welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily, where I cover this week's treachery, debauchery, and craziness. However, today I am focusing on my theme, the lessons I learned from interviewing 1,000 women and having a year of shows. So, as you guys know, I was a normal woman selling copiers in Milwaukee when I stumbled upon Red Pill, PUA, and Manosphere content. This content completely changed my life and sent me down a rabbit hole of curiosity where I ended up interviewing 1,000 women to test out some of these ideas. I'm going to read you guys something I wrote about the topic today, which is the curse of the modern mother. I think a lot of times when I hear people's analysis of society, I like to go a level deeper to talk about why we're in the situation we're in and some of the stories that I heard in my year of shows. Or I think it was 2 years total. But before we start, guys, I have to direct you to our website, which is theaudacitynetwork.com. We are putting together documentaries and all different types of videos that I would like to do. But unfortunately, we are demonetized on YouTube. So it's people like you guys that can fund the divorce documentary we'd like to finish. We want to get in some really big guests for these shows, but it all costs money, and being demonetized, this is the way we do it. Also, we do a 30-minute live stream on the website after the show where you guys can ask me any questions you have. Or, special requests. Some people want to know behind the scenes stories, and I like to give them to you guys. So we do that on the audacitynetwork.com. So the way that we're going to structure the show today is I'm going to read you guys something I wrote, and I want it to be really interactive. So after I read this, I'm going to look at the chat. And what we're going to talk about is different archetypes I saw of modern mothers. We ask, why do Gen Z women rank men as 7th on their list of priorities? Traveling is above men. And this is, a lot of people say that I'm making it up and it's only women in the city, but this is a poll that was done from women all over that are Gen Z, and they rank men as 7th. And this was crazy to me because I can't even think of, can you guys think of 7 things that are more important than women? A lot of you are MGTOW, you probably can. But this was crazy to me. But the question is, why are we in this situation? How did this happen? So I'm going to read this. And if you guys think of any clips or even other archetypes of modern mothers, feel free to put them in the chat. And then after I'm done reading, I will look at it. And maybe we can play. I have a couple clips I'm going to play, but maybe you guys find some too that remind you of this. Okay. So as you guys know, I was a normal woman selling copiers in Milwaukee when I was sent a Kevin Samuels video. This video led me into an online world of red pill content, PUAs, and dating and relationship content. This content led me to test out some of these ideas by interviewing 1,000 women. There were lessons in the process, but today I want to talk about the curse of the modern mother. For the sake of this show, I am going to need to define traditional and modern. There is a spectrum between traditional and modern. It's not black and white, but for all intents and purposes, traditional mothers are mothers that put the family over themselves. A modern mother is one that puts herself before the family. So oftentimes, guys, I will say, and a lot of people get offended by this, but traditional women are married before 25. The reason I say that is because traditional women spend their youth on their family. That's the most important thing to them. Where modern women tend to spend their youth on themselves and then start a family later. One is not better or worse, they're just different. Another thing that I tend to say is traditional women believe in obeying their husbands, where modern women tend to want more of a 50-50 partnership, and they will say things like you need to negotiate with your husband. A traditional woman says whatever he says goes. One is not better or worse, I just have to define them. Okay. If more women were brutally honest with themselves, we would figure out that most women are not meant to be mothers, because being a mother is selfless. Meaning you have to think about your husband and children before yourself. But we live in a world where women are told and enabled to put themselves first for a lifetime? Do you have a child and a lucrative career? State-sponsored daycare? Why raise your kids when someone else can? Why cook your husband dinner when Uber Eats is an option? Why clean the house when you can leave it messy or hire mates? Neither is better or worse per se, but one thinks about the husband and children first, and one thinks about herself first. It blew my mind how many women I had met that were married to high-earning men and still believed they needed to work. They were lying to themselves. Sure, I understand that there's a recession, but you can move to a smaller house and spend more time with their children. But the money and the lifestyle was more important than the kids. Gen Z women rank men as seventh in their list of priorities. They put things like travel, work, and education above men. But how did society get here, where marriage is falling apart and the sexes are more and more divided? When interviewing women, I break down the women in a couple categories by age group. The 70 to 90-year-old women were the beginning of the end of the generation of traditional women. Women in their 70s lived through a lot of the decline of society and were part of it, but I would still say that half are fairly traditional, meaning that when I ask them questions about obeying their husbands and things that show how they felt about traditional dynamics, they at the very least gave me traditional answers. The issues these women have is that even the traditional ones told their daughters not to be traditional. Being that I was in London, I interviewed a lot of women from traditional countries who shared with me that their mothers told them to get an education and not spend their youth on a family. 50 to 70-year-old women on a balance of probabilities were the first generation of truly shitty wives. This is where I see the femininity leave the culture. These women will swear tooth and nail that they are different than the young women today, but I saw little difference in their answers. They were the first generation of women who divorced their husbands and broke up their family. Every generation pretty much gets worse until we hit millennial women who are so bad that we don't even make it down the aisle. Each generation has offered less and less traditional skills, so it's no wonder we have less and less traditional outcomes. Again, I am not saying one is better or worse. Maybe Oprah's husband is happy. They have cooks, so who needs a housewife? What I am saying, it is different than before, and the sexes are more and more divided. I have a lot of empathy for the women I interviewed on some level. I found that probably more than half of women, I would guess 80%, have been alienated from their father in some way. They have been told from a young age that if they submit to a man, he will abuse them. So many mothers instilled fear in their daughters, even women that had been married 30 plus years. Stay-at-home wives would frame the father of their children as deadbeats, as if they worked a lot, and even calling themselves single mothers. Traditional marriages, the wives would complain to the kids and call their husbands toxic. Young women would say some off-the-cuff negative trait about their father, and when I would ask them to name specifics, they never could. It was really clear that the mother was telling them these things. I came to the realization that almost 90% of daddy issues were actually mommy issues. They were mothers that could not regulate their emotions and used their children as emotional tampons. I saw this consistently across race, culture, and religion. Mothers hate the fathers of their children so much that they make the children pay for it. I saw this on both sides of my work, from interviewing men who were victims of divorce rape to interviewing women who were victims of parental alienation. Some women figure it out when they're older, some never will. So it's no wonder that the family is breaking down the way it is. Mothers teach their daughters to hate their fathers, and the cycle continues. A couple stories from this period that stuck with me. There was one man whose wife said that he had raped her the first time they hooked up 10 years ago at the beginning of their relationship. After this supposed rape, they were together for 10 years and had 2 children. She shared that story with the children. The children spent the beginning of their adult life believing it. There was another woman who I spoke with whose mother told her that her dad was abusive, and she found out at 25 years old that she lied. She had not seen her father for 15 years at that point. She hated him her whole childhood. Another phenomenon was how many women I interviewed who thought it was perfectly acceptable to tell their children under the age of 10 why their marriage ended. They would tell me that their kids are going to see that they're upset and ask why, and they clearly had to tell them. It always conveniently blamed the father. If the father cheated, the women always thought it was acceptable to tell the children. When I suggested they control their emotions and maybe not do that, they looked at me like I was crazy. There's a couple of archetypes of women that I found. One is the competing mother. These are mothers that compete with their daughters. It's very obvious once you see it. Many of them flirt with their daughters' boyfriends. Whenever something good happens for their daughters, they need to steal the attention, and they cannot deal with their children getting more attention than them. Many men even told me that their girlfriends' mothers would hit on them. Some of these men, this was their first sexual experience, was with their girlfriend's mother. These are the mothers that try to be young forever and dress like they are in their teenage years. The I missed out on my youth mother and the I did so much for you mother. These two archetypes are usually crossed over. There's usually a crossover. The I missed out on my youth mother often married young or gave up a high-powered career in order to be a mother. Unfortunately, you can't serve two masters and you can't have it all, at least not at the same time. These are the women that kill themselves trying to do so. These are the women that give up things in order to have children. But it does not count if the women feel as though they should have chased the alternative. I found that many women felt like they missed out on a career or partying in their youth when they married young. They regret the decision and make sure the children know. This is where the I did so much for you comes from. This is where the mothers that want recognition for doing the bare minimum of raising the children you chose to have. I did so much for you equals I only give in order to get. I missed out on this equals I wanted to party or chase a career more than be a mom. The I hate your father mother. These are the mothers that hate the fathers of their children so much that they make their kids pay for it. These are the mothers that say things like, you are just like your father, as if being like your father is a bad thing. These women married men that they don't like in order to have children, and every chance they get, they belittle him. These are the mothers who make passive-aggressive jokes and disrespect the father of their kids every chance they get. When these women get divorced, they make sure the entire town knows why. They play victim, even to the point of filing false abuse allegations. I have an example of this, but I'm going to show it after I'm done reading the last one. The social media mothers. These are the mothers that use their children to build their brand. Growing up, all children deserve a sense of privacy. But for whatever reason, these mothers think it is more important to show off that they are a mother and even show personal moments of their kids' childhood, sometimes having tantrums and posting it online. It is very obvious by their social media posts what they are trying to signal. Look at me. I am a great mom. This in itself is not traditional because traditional women don't like to bring attention to themselves. There are many archetypes of mothers, and these are certainly not all of them. But I'm going to show you a clip that demonstrates the I hate your father mother. The sound is attention to themselves. There are many archetypes of mothers, and these are certainly not. Okay, let me
go now. No, I'm sorry. I don't even know right now.
It's hard for her to know how to feel when it's been pumped in her head for 16 years. Something that didn't happen.
Don't start that, please.
Not your fault.
Stop.
And how do you, are you glad to know the results?
I still don't think my mom's lying to me.
You said you wanted the poly results, and you have them. And you heard me say that I believe your mother is well-intentioned.
Yeah. I love my mom.
Nobody is asking you to do anything other than have love and loyalty for your mother. I hope this can be taken off the table and you and your mother.
And one thing that really surprised me in my year of doing interviews was how often women would tell these outlandish stories that had no basis, and how often false accusations happen. When I was growing up, I always thought it was a one-off, or if a woman said a crazy story, I would assume it was true. I wouldn't think people lied about that. But in my year of shows, every other woman, maybe that's an over-exaggeration, I would say at least one woman a show, or every other show, a woman said that she was abused. And if I asked a couple questions, I would say 85% were lying because their story didn't match the facts. So here, this woman told her daughter for 16 years that her dad molested her when she was a kid. You would be shocked how many accusations like that happen. When I was interviewing men that were victims of divorce rape, there's one guy I interviewed that was his job. So his job was when a man was divorce raped. And when I say divorce raped, it just basically means a woman is pulling the nuke button in divorce. So she's using every possible tactic. There's a book called How to Destroy a Man, and it teaches women the step-by-step guide of how to use the false accusation system against men. So you would be surprised how common that is. And this man that worked with those men told me that there's a ton of men every year that commit suicide because of accusations like this, because the whole town thinks they're a pedo. And a lot of times, because family court is not based on evidence, it's based on a balance of probabilities, those men can still lose access to their children. So a lot of times women go to family court where they know they don't actually need evidence. They pull these accusations. They may even post on social media about how the dad did that. They ruin this guy's reputation. Some of them even go so far to say this stuff to the man's friends and families. And a lot of these guys get so overwhelmed because, you know, some of them are older, some of them are in their 50s, that they just end up committing suicide. The average age of first suicide is, I think, 45 for men. Or there's an increase. I can't remember the exact stat, but it's around the first age of divorce. Because a lot of guys, they get to that age, you know, and they see, oh, I have to start over, and I have maybe 20 years left. It might just be easier to, you know. So this type of thing, it's more common than you would think.
Can take this from between you and you can talk about this. Have you heard me say that your mother was a liar? Have you heard me say that your mother was vicious or vindictive? You've not heard me say one thing.
And I'm not mad at you, but when I hear other people with that, my mom.
Okay, look, what these people are interested in is that you would at least show some graciousness towards your father, who has for 15 years. Who has for 15 years walked around with people thinking that he is some kind of pervert that hurt his daughter.
Can I ask why I didn't get a lie detector? I asked for a lie detector to prove that I wasn't lying about what.
If you would like to take a polygraph,
I would.
Mr. Tremarco is here today and prepared to administer that to you today.
Let's go.
All right.
Okay, of course she wants to go home. So, you know, you have a woman like this. What is she going to grow up to be? So, you know, I would have a lot of empathy for some of these women because a lot of them, their mom was in their ear. They came from really, really crazy backgrounds. Like there was one woman, and I guess this is a little off topic, but she was like 19 and she was infertile from Plan Bs. I mean, it was her own dumb decision, right? But it was a choice she made at 19 where, and she was like a nice girl. She was a sweetheart, to be honest. But, you know, they're raised in these like environments where a lot of times the mom is just in their ear poisoning the entire well for years. So what do you get? I'm about to look at the chat, so I wanted to see if maybe you guys had some. But let me turn off. You can take off this screen because I was looking. You can take off this screen. Okay, wait. Let me turn the sound off. Okay. 19, she'll blame men. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them do. Like, I don't say this. I don't say this because I'm using it as an excuse, because you're responsible for, as an adult, you are responsible for your own decisions. You're responsible for your own actions. But sometimes I guess it's good to understand like why people think the way they do. And it just blew my mind. I would do show after show after show. And guys, I wish you could understand how many people during the peak were coming in and out of my apartment. It was like 7, 8 girls, 6 days a week at one point. And whenever we would talk about, or women would talk about their dads, I would say the overwhelming majority was negative. Or it would frame the mother as a victim in some way. And what you do is you have to ask a couple questions, like, how did you come to that conclusion? Did you spend a lot of time with him growing up? Did you specifically see what happened? And normally you can kind of put 2 and 2 together, that it's the mom in the kid's ear talking bad about the dad. And what I saw in my divorce documentary interviews, because when I did the divorce documentary interviews, these guys will bring in like a shelf full of paperwork. So they'd bring in all this paper, so I can literally read through their affidavits that are summoned in court. And a lot of the women for a decade are poisoning the well, not only for the kids, but the entire community, talking bad and spreading rumors about the dad. Because women, we don't use physical violence. So what we do is we use reputation destruction, and we go around and we ruin men's reputation. And that's female violence, because that was how women survived. So because women had to survive through our reputation, if there's ever a situation where it's her reputation or his, and in a divorce it often is, because you're a bit of a failure if you're getting divorced. The reason I point these patterns out is because once you see it, you can't unsee it, and then you can identify it in the future. So a lot of the divorcees, what they do is, oh, I can't be a failure as a wife. That's bad. So my solution is I have to pin it on him. So maybe he was abusive. And then if they can't pull off real abuse, they'll put financially abusive, emotionally abusive, or our favorite, toxic. And when you're a kid, when you're 12 years old, 13 years old, 8 years old, and your mom's going through a divorce and telling you these things. And the thing I learned about men is men are really silent about their problems. Women, when we want to feel better about something, it helps us to talk about it. And a lot of women project that on men. That's why you see women say, oh, men just need to talk about their problems, or men need to go to therapy. From my experience, men want a plan to fix their problems or to make it better, where women just want to talk. So when men are going through something, especially if there's no solution, they just go through it. And a lot of men are really lonely, where they don't even have people to talk to. so you have two competing things there. Then we also, as a society, always give the mothers the benefit of the doubt. There's a reason Mother's Day is so, it's basically a national holiday, and Father's Day is an afterthought. And then the single mothers take Father's Day too. you know. And so what you come to realize when you do these interviews is that the reason we're in this mess as a society, the reason the sexes are going more and more apart, marriage is falling apart, is because so many women of the past hated the father. And so they turned the kids against the father. And then the kids grow up and they have a bad taste in their mouth about, family relationships, that sort of thing. And women just want to party. I mean, it's good luck getting an 18-year-old off of a yacht in Miami. You know what I mean? Good luck. So, there's competing things here, but it's the saddest part for me. I would do these divorce documentary interviews. So when I was in London, there was a point where I was filming so much. It was crazy. I was so busy. Because I was working on a divorce documentary. I was also doing all these shows. And I would interview the men that were divorce raped. So they would bring in their pile of papers and they would tell me these awful stories. And guys, these stories, I don't know how conservatives still push marriage after hearing stories like I have heard. I'm sure they haven't. They have to be naive, because if there was a pill, right? If there was a pill and there was a 15% chance or a 5% chance of a guy going through what those men went through without knowing the consequences, I would feel like it was immoral to push it, even if maybe 50% had great outcomes and it was amazing. That 5% chance, I would feel responsible if it happened and I was the one pushing it. So one guy came to the studio, and this wasn't recorded. So this was just, he was going to do an interview and then he never ended up doing it. He had gotten a divorce. And one of the worst parts is because usually the wife leaves. So the wife left him. What's common is she'll just file an abuse allegation, right? And he loses his house, loses his job. They usually lose the job because they're really stressed out because they got kicked out of their house. Maybe the wife's telling everyone he's an abuser. So there's a lot of competing things going on here. And what happened to him was his wife got a new boyfriend. And the new boyfriend was a former, he'd gone to jail for pedophilia. And there was nothing this guy could do legally. And now he has a guy raising his daughter and he brought the daughter into the studio. So it was kind of crazy because she was like 10 or 12, around that age. And there was nothing he could do. Because when she was watching him, because he'd already served jail time or whatever it was. Yeah, I don't really understand why, but that was, and it's these guys get a sense of, I don't know how to put it, death in their eye. Like some of the men I interviewed, I just wouldn't be surprised if they killed themselves in the next 2 years. And I know that's really dark. So I would interview these men going through it. And then I would interview young women, which were oftentimes the product of those situations. Maybe not that extreme, right? But where they believed their father was abusive, toxic, whatever. And it would be I could see both sides. I could see the destruction of the men and the destruction of the children. Because a lot of the women grew up believing that they couldn't walk down a street at night because men were so evil, right? Or they grow up to hate men. And you wonder, why did they get there? And it's because a lot of them, from the time they were 10 years old, had their mother in their ear talking bad about their father. I'd like to say there are traditional women. This is not all women, but it's it's enough. I saw it enough that it is a pattern. I'm going to read the chat. So much for fairy tale weddings. Yeah, and you know, it's interesting. The most feminine woman, and this is what I realized. Actually, I'm going to talk about that a different show. That's a different show. I can't give you guys all my good stuff. I can't give it all. But once you see this stuff, you can't really unsee it. I'm going to bring up this. No, not this lady. The toxic. I think it's the narcissistic mother. Like if you type on TikTok, oftentimes, narcissistic mother, let me find this. One of the top searches is, my mother is competing with me. It's like a big one. And those mothers are really, I would interview those mothers a lot where they're like 37 after a divorce. Their boobs are out on my show. They're dressed like they're 19. You know, it's one thing to be dressed like a thought at 19, 25, even 30. But ma'am, you're almost 40. What are you doing? Like, this is, you know, there would be a woman that came on. She was 42. She had 4 kids, I think. And she would be at every single event thrown in London. She would be all over. And I couldn't help but think, who is watching your children? And it's really obvious when women, social events are their priority or their work is their priority. I would say it's more of the exception than the rule that it's the kids. Even in London, you know, I would see these, I lived in a very Muslim area, and I would see these Muslim families coming from, I don't know, but somewhere traditional. They had the traditional garments, right? And they would be in these really small apartments, because where I lived, it was an apartment complex. And they would live a really frugal lifestyle so the parents could spend time with the kids. So they would be like 4 kids in this tiny apartment. And then I would see women come on my show and they would prioritize going to events. They would prioritize going back to school. They would prioritize their career, and they would leave their husbands a lot of the time. Like, the most common answer I got for leaving, like, why did you break up your family, was we outgrew each other. And usually what I would find pretty common is that they would get a promotion at work, or maybe they'd get a little bit of social media clout. And then, you know, the family kind of was an afterthought. And one's not better or worse, right? And I try to take out morality from it. And I'm just trying to describe what's happening and what I saw. Because, you know, who am I to say maybe if Oprah had a kid, it would have been fine? Or when Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have their super baby, maybe it'll be good. I don't know. But it's just kind of what I observed. I'm competing. I accidentally exited out of a video that I was going to bring up. The competitive mother. I do not know where this one went. My fault, guys. If you guys have any video clips that you want to put in, let me look at the chat again. Let me take off the sound. Who wants to donate to Dr. Umar's schools? Look, I can't tell you guys what to do. Believe all women, yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think a lot of people come into these movements and they want to save society, right? So they come in and say, we are on a mission. Let's bring back traditionalism. And I had an economist on my show. His name is Aaron Clary, really smart guy. You know, there's bankers that are predicting that, and these are people with no skin in the game. They just want to make money, that half of women are going to be single and childless between the ages of 25 and 45. There are apartment complexes going up in major cities and that are for single people. There are more high-paying jobs that are going to be offered to women. All of society is being set up so that we're turning into a single society. Feminism won. This is what, if you look at 100 years ago, all the goals they wanted to get done, they pretty much won. They got the birth control, they got the abortion, they got single motherhood. All of the things they wanted, they won. And it's really unlikely until there's a societal decline or collapse that it will go back together anytime soon or in my lifetime. So the way I look at it is people need to manage their expectations and plan accordingly. Or you can do the Make-A-Wish, like a lot of people want to. How am I supposed to fix this? I can't do that. Yeah, Aaron Clary's my spirit animal. Yeah. So, the narcissistic mother. Okay, someone put a TikTok in the chat.
Talk about how and why narcissistic mothers covertly shame and damage their own children in order to keep them trapped in a box of control and to attempt to look good in the process, garnering all kinds of support and attention from the outside world.
That's another thing. They're more likely to be, the more women try to make themselves look good, so the more their language or their social media posts, the message is, I am a good person, covertly, right? I mean, they never say that, but they say, oh, working mom, or oh, like motherhood, like blah, blah. You guys know it. The more they do that, the more I found that they're not great moms.
It's disgusting. Now, we are talking about how narcissistic mothers covertly damage and shame their own children. To begin with, we need to understand the difference between the overt narcissist and the covert narcissist. The overt narcissist is okay being arrogant, loud, and bullying. They really personify that. It becomes who they are. And in most cases, many of us would prefer to deal with the overt narcissist for that reason, because we could at least say, you're a butthole, right? Leave me alone. Stay over there. The covert narcissist, however, is the most damaging. The covert narcissist lives this double life. They have the same heart of stone as the overt narcissist. They have the same cruelty and malice and inherent selfishness within their heart, yet they desire to present to the outside world a different story because they want to garner sympathy. They want to garner attention. This makes the covert narcissistically abusive person the worst narcissist that you could ever come across. This is the type that you don't know what you're going to get from one moment to the next. Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde. The beauty or the beast. Now, when it comes to covert narcissistic mothers, I want to talk about how and why they humiliate, shame, and damage their own children to accomplish two things. Number one, to maintain control over the relationship, possibly forever. to keep the children underneath their thumb so that they never grow too independent, so that they never feel they can leave, so that they will also be or always be submissive to the mother. But the other reason is so that the mother can manipulate that shame and that guilt that they are putting onto that child. She can manipulate that into gaining attention, support, even admiration from the outside world. How do they do this? Covert narcissistic mothers use the medical field. That's their number one go-to. Talk about how and why narcissists.
Let me see the part 2, maybe.
Talk about how.
The number one reason.
Let me see if I can get to the part 2. They use the medical. I've seen that a lot. They always think they're sick. Okay, I don't know where the part 2 would be. Let me look at a couple other videos on TikTok. We go down. Oh, wait, no. Here we go.
Rather see you struggle than do well for yourself. The more you struggle, the more you have to rely on me, which means I get to control you. I'm a narcissistic mother. Of course I had children to cater to my ego. The purpose of having kids is to teach blind obedience to me, not for them.
Yeah, and they have kids not for the kids, but because they want a kid. It's not like a selfless. It's like kid is part of the checklist.
Be their own people. I'm their ruler. I'm a narcissistic mother. Of course you have to earn my love. I'm a narcissistic mother. Of course I've been emotionally unavailable your whole life. I didn't become a mom to meet your needs. I became a mom for you to meet mine. I'm a narcissistic mother. I can only love you for who I want you to be, not for who you are. As long as you do as I say, stick beside me in my toxic behavior and participate in the fantasy I've created in my head, you have nothing to worry about, my love. I'm a narcissistic mother. Of course I'd rather impress strangers and give the idea of a perfect family instead of actually having a healthy family dynamic. I don't really care about having a healthy family dynamic. As long as I get to post and keep up my false image, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's the social media mom.
I'm a narcissistic mother. Of course I play my children against each other and make them compete for my attention. I can never let them have a close relationship and leave me out the middle. Never. I'm a narcissistic mother. Of course I'm going to be a seemingly loving grandmother, but only to one grandkid. I have to use the same manipulative tactics I used on my kids when they were younger. How else am I going to get them to compete for my love? I'm a narcissistic mother. I'll never apologize for the way I treated you, but I'll blame you for the way that you reacted. I'm a narcissistic mother. Of course I secretly would rather see you struggle than do well for yourself. The more you struggle, the more.
Yeah, and you see, guys, this is 7 million views, almost 8 million. It's a pain point.
3 things a narcissistic mother does that cause you trauma. 1. Behaving completely differently in front of others compared to how she behaves in private towards you. Leaving people wondering why you're so unpleasant towards her and thinking you're ungrateful. Number 2. Creating splits within the family by assigning roles to each of the children. The golden child, the scapegoat, and the lost child. Number 3. When something bad happens to others, instead of offering support, all attention focuses on her, and somehow the story becomes her personal narrative. 3 things a narcissistic mother.
Okay, guys, if you have other videos you want to send, feel free. Mother is jealous of her. Oh, okay, let me look at the mother is jealous. You can take it off the screen while I look up this one. Okay, mother is jealous of her daughter. Jealous of her daughter on Britain's Got Talent. And the thing is, narcissistic mothers care more about their reputation than the well-being of their kids. So if something looks bad to the outside world, that is more detrimental to the mother than it is the well-being of the child. So then what's actually going on in private? Oh, wait here.
We are like mother, like daughter. I'm Dawn. This is my daughter Abby, and we are a duo from Strood in Kent. I've been singing for a long, long time, about 20 years. So I've done like thousands and thousands of gigs. I gig every weekend. Pubs, clubs, toilets, anywhere that pays me, I'll sing. So, whereas Abby's not like a performer. I've tried to, without success, to get on shows before, and Abby thought it was a good idea for us to join together and become unique, which it truly is.
Abby, how are you feeling today?
Abby's really excited about auditioning. We've been talking about
Look at her. Is this real?
it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Okay, we'll be fine, we'll be fine, we'll be fine. We're not nervous. We are nervous, but we're big nervous. We're not stupid nervous. All right? Well, by domination, mate. We're going to do it. No's not an option. It's
Another thing I've seen is women trying to make, or mothers trying to make their daughters into what, or their sons into what they want to be. So a lot of times I would see this from immigrant families in London, where the more traditional backgrounds they came from, they would want the son to be a doctor, a lawyer, or something very traditional. And I would meet a lot of people that maybe went against what their parents wanted because, I'm in more of a creative space, and that's not usually what the parents tell the kids to do. But it's selfish because, the parents want the kid to be like them instead of becoming their own person.
150%. We're not getting buzzed. We're getting on the show, and we're going to win.
Well, and Abby, how much would you like to get a yes today from the judges?
Lots. She'd like to get a yes from the judges. Lots. She said to me that a no is not an option. So, same as me.
Hello.
Hello.
Who are you two?
I'm Dawn.
Dawn and...
Abby.
Abby?
Yeah.
Okay, and how old are you both?
I'm 38.
Are you really?
Yes.
Yeah, you look good.
Thank you.
And how old are you?
I'm 14.
We're mother and daughter.
Oh.
Wow. And what are you going to sing?
Plan B, she said.
Okay, and whose choice is that? Which one mainly chose it?
I did.
Yeah.
You did?
I already sing this song. I've done over 4,000 live gigs over across Kent and the southeast. I've been singing in pubs for 20 years.
Okay, good luck.
Okay, thank you.
you.
She said, I love you, boy, I love you so. She said, I love you, baby, oh, 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 oh. She said, I love you more than words can say. She said, I love you, baby, ay, 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 baby. But I love you, boy, I love you so.
Someone said the mother is using her daughter's youth to elevate herself. Oof.
But I love you, baby, oh, 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 oh. She said, I love you more than words can say.
She's getting ready.
She said, I love you, baby.
Raise the microphone.
Stand up in the courts, pleading my case in the witness box. Telling the judge and the jury, same thing that's said to the cops. On the day that got arrested, I'm innocent, I protested. Should feel rejected and heartbroken by someone she's obsessed with. Wanna lock me up, throw away the key, wanna send me down, even though I told him she.
She said, I love you, boy, I love you so. She said, I love you, baby, oh, oh, oh.
Oh, no.
You know, when you're a duet, normally, when you're not doing anything, you kind of help the person you're with. It just took so much time to get to you.
I just think you acted the whole time like someone was holding a gun to your head. To do it, and it didn't look like there was any pleasure in being there.
Abby's not a performer. She's never performed anywhere.
Well, can I say something? I thought Abby was better than you.
Oof. Oh, that's brutal. Oh, that was brutal. Look at her. She's pissed.
I mean, yeah, can we hear you on your own, Abby? You want to do it? You all right?
All right. Come here. Who's there?
Are you interested?
Are you okay?
Hold me close, you're just too far. Or I can bring it in so you're up with the stars. But still down to earth with my love. I work so hard.
Can we just be honest? She is not a good rapper either. Like, this is really good TV. And it's kind of interesting because it's like a young, like her look with the rap. But I'm not going to pretend here that this is good. Like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Hard to be where I am, so I'll just hold you closer and want to dance.
So you can't wait to join in.
I need to know how you feel too. So hold me closer and don't let go. I'm falling, so please just don't let go. Lay me down.
Okay, so you're really a little rapper, aren't you?
Yeah.
Got it. Mum, do you want to come back, sweetheart? Okay, we'll make it quick. Well, Abby, you should put a band together. I mean, you, Mum, very nice, but you are a pub singer, and you picked up all the habits. Even when you start doing that with the audience, come on, you know, I hate all that. I don't believe this is ever going to work for you. Alicia?
I can't help feel like this is your mum's dream, you know? And I
Yeah.
think you should carry on, but maybe not as an act.
Carry on as mother and daughter.
Carry on as mother and daughter.
Yeah, I think they probably will.
But that's...
I think they probably will.
I think we should vote on this.
Yeah.
Okay, David.
I'm sorry, ladies, it's a no.
Alicia?
I'm sorry, girls, it's a no.
Carmen?
Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend that girl was a good rapper. I mean, did you guys think she was good? Wait, thumbs up or down? Thumbs up or down? Yeah. Okay, I was like, this can't just be me. Okay, guys, but that's basically the dynamics that I saw when I was interviewing in London. A lot of mothers putting what they want on their children instead of letting them be their own people. I would see it from fathers too. It wouldn't just be one way. But unfortunately, we live in a society where if there's a broken home, the mothers get custody, so it's just more common. And yeah, I could see the impacts firsthand on the children. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you like the video on your way out and go to theaudacitynetwork.com. We're going to stream after this for a half hour. So go there and I will read your questions and your chat and I'll talk to you next time.